What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Today. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to this episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Today. And boy, do we have a special guest. Derek Coburn is in the house. What's up, brother?
What's up, Darius? How you doing, my man?
Oh, man. I'm great. I'm fucking great. I'm stoked that you're here, dude.
I'm excited to be here. It's fun to be back.
Yeah, man. Repeat guest. What do you guys say about that, man? Like, dude, I was thinking about before the show, we were talking, and I was reminding Derek, I'm like, I think we've been on Clubhouse.
Amazing. Something good came out of Clubhouse for me.
I know. My wife, when I was on Clubhouse, was like, what are you doing, dude? I'm like, I'm leaving my phone on all night to get followers.
I feel like I'm in middle school again. Leave me alone.
I know. There was a little middle school moment. There's a woman that was, what's interesting, though? I've gotten some cool guests out of the show, you being one of them. And made some new relationships out of it, you being one of them. But there was a woman, her episode came out 2 weeks ago, who I had, like, no joke. So her name was Amy Purdy. I don't know if you remember this person.
I don't think so.
She was on a bunch of, like, the stages that you and I were, like, hanging out on. And I was on there, like, looking people up. And I don't even know if you know this. I launched so this was a live stream before it was an actual podcast. And then I launched the podcast on Clubhouse with Mike McAllowitz. So Mike McAllowitz, and who I don't know if you're friends with him.
Yeah.
Profit First.
Yeah. We've had him speak at Cadre before and hung out with him a bit.
Dude, he's such a fucking cool dude.
Big time.
And he's a homie. So Mike, like, we hosted a room and we had a couple thousand people come in, and I launched a podcast on there. But I end up we meet people. Some people, like, I'm not gonna say their names because I'm embarrassed I put them on the show. And like, looking back, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't put that guy on the show. And some obviously amazing like yourself. But Amy came on. She lost both her legs to meningitis when she was 19 and became a professional snowboarder, and then was on Dancing with the Stars, right?
Oh,
I met her.
Gosh.
I didn't even think I talked to her on Clubhouse. I just saw her profile and I'm like, oh, she's super interesting. And then I hounded her for 3 years, and then she came on the show. Dude, amazing human being. Spent like an hour with her, but anyway, she's another guest that just came on, and someone that I met through Clubhouse. So to your point, not a complete and royal waste of time. And obviously getting to meet humans like yourself, I'm like, all right, it's paid off over time, so it's all we make of it, right? How are you doing, dude?
I'm good. I just recovering from a little surgery, but other than that, man, I'm excited to keep banging the drum with this book that I wrote, this idea, this thing I've been practicing for 27 plus years as a financial advisor, and looking forward to our chat, brother.
Yeah, that's it, dude. So you guys, like, first of all, for video watchers, I'm showing you the book right now. It's Let's Retire Retirement, How to Enjoy Life to the Fullest Now and Later. It just made the USA Today bestsellers list, brother. Whoa. Like, that's amazing. I bow down. That's really cool.
Wow,
How you feeling about it?
Good. It's a unique book. I think when I was sharing it with a lot of my friends in my network, the advanced reader copies, they were digging it. They were enjoying it. They were reading it, and it was moving a lot of them in ways that were causing them to say, look, I want to buy a bunch of copies and give them out to my network, give them out to my clients, give them out to my friends. And so, the USA Today bestseller list is great. And it's also, like, most of these lists, especially initially, are based off of people that are buying the book that haven't read it yet. And I'll take it. And it's nice to be able to have that title, but I'm also equally excited about having, 175 reviews on Amazon right now with a 4.8 star review, and hearing from a lot of people telling me how much it's changing their life and the way that they're going about living on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, man, that's no joke. And for people like it, like, so I'm going to school the audience a little bit on some of this. So first of all, the way the bestseller lists work, it's who bought the book the week of it when it came out, and then you can do pre-sales and count those towards it as well. So you have to have a lot of momentum and get a lot of people excited about your book. And Derek is a stud, so he's like sending copies of the book out. We hadn't even talked. I saw you last year in an unfortunate circumstance under a good friend, John Rulins, at his funeral.
Yeah.
So we hadn't seen each other. And then you hit me up, sent me a beautiful hat, the book. I was like, oh, this guy's doing it right. I was similar when I did my book launch, like, like styling people out and just asking for support, which it's funny, like a book launch, like, again, I don't know if you experience this, but my sense is, my gut says the answer is yes. Is, dude, you're calling in a lot of favors to get people to support the book, and I think like people, if like most people aren't going to do it unless they really want to do it, like they'll do a little something, but to really help you promote the book, like they're gonna like be like, dude, this is a cool dude who I respect, who I want to help. Like you talk us through that a little bit. How was your ask?
Yeah,
people?
my ask this time was like, I've given a lot to a lot of people, and I like to think that a lot of that is being done without the expectation of getting anything in return. But I actually think that maybe that's not right. Like, I think that maybe there is a little bit of a quid pro quo for me and maybe for other people, where if I have supported somebody in some way, I personally would not, if somebody supported me in some way, I would not, for example, leave them a 5-star review if I didn't love their book, or I wouldn't have them on my podcast if I didn't think that they would be a good guest. But I would say, because you have supported me in the past, I will give your book a read. I will be open to seeing if it's something that I like and something that I want to get behind and support. And so for me, my ask, because I get asked to read a lot of books, and I think you probably do as well. And hey, I got a book coming out. Will you read it? Will you share it? Will you buy some copies? And I will support my friends a lot of times. I'll buy some books. I will share it on social media, but I'll stop short of like giving it the 5-star review or really going out of my way to tell people about it unless I love it.
Yep.
And I probably read about 10% of the books that I get that people send me to ask them. I just don't have time, or it's not an interesting topic to me. So for me, my ask was, for a lot of the people, I feel like my whole book is strong, but I feel like my intro and my first chapter will really kind of share some ideas that are going to be pretty provocative and potentially pretty life-changing. And so my ask for a lot of the people that I felt like maybe owed me, like, hey, like, if you feel inclined to want to help me and support me, will you just give me 15 or 20 minutes as my initial ask? Will you read the introduction and the first chapter? If you love it, keep going, and we could talk more about what else you might be able to do. And if you don't love it, you can stop, and I appreciate that, and we're good in terms of what I was expecting of you.
Yeah, well, dude, you got Seth Godin and Daniel Pink to give you a thumbs up, which is like that's no joke, especially because Seth is such a freaking stud. He's been on the show, and like I didn't know him personally. Do you know him personally? Do you guys?
I mean, look, I've known him. I've been to his events. I've had an email relationship with him, for probably 20 years. I've brought a lot of people to his events. I've supported his books in the past. We've had him speak at Cadre. But he's another one of these, like, hey, Seth, will you consider endorsing my book? And he's got very specific guidelines that you have to follow in terms of the way that he wants to receive the book, the format that it's in, no watermarks. He's probably not going to read it, but he'll try. And if he does, don't ask for an endorsement. If I'm not, some people, I guess, will say, like, can you just give me here's some sample endorsements that you can choose from. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. He's like, if I do it, I'm going to read the whole thing, and if I like it, I'll give you an endorsement, and if not, I won't. And so he felt like, of a lot of the ones that I asked, it felt like more of a long shot. And he read it in 4 days and was the first person to get an endorsement back to me. So that was pretty exciting and validating for sure.
That's huge, man. And so all that to say is, dude, I think writing a book is, and like getting it out in the world is, having been someone that's, I ran the numbers myself for 2 years ago, and I'm like, how many companies have I started? I'm like, I've started not necessarily just companies, because when I was younger, I wouldn't start a company, I would just start a business. I'm like, dude, I started like 25 businesses in my life, and which is a lot. And
yeah, geez.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even realize it. I was speaking at UT at the School of Entrepreneurism, and I was like, what's it like to be an entrepreneur? And I started like tallying it up. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then, and then I was like, dude, putting a book out in the world was a lot of work, So it's this is your second book. How did this compare to the first book you put out?
Yeah, I'm a better writer now, not unsurprisingly. This book, the first book, it took me like 9 months to write the first 3 chapters and then 6 hours to write the rest of it. And then I had to hire a really great structural editor to help me reorganize it. And this time I had Sarah Stibbets helping me from the beginning, where it was a collaborative effort. And we started off in 2017. So I've been a financial advisor for 27 years. And I've been having this conversation with my clients around, like, really, I'm the only financial advisor that I know of. And I'm sure there's some others out there, but I'm calling into question just the idea and the ridiculousness of retirement. And I'm not asking my clients, what age do you want to retire, which is the age everyone else, which is the question everyone else gets asked. I'm saying, do you even want to retire? And when I started writing the book, I thought it would be a great business card and a great way for me to attract more of my ideal client at the time. And these are clients that had minimum investable assets of a few $1,000,000. And then 2019, I got approached by a private equity company to buy my practice. During this time, my father had dementia. COVID hit. My father passed away. I had a full-blown midlife crisis. I just stopped writing for 3 or 4 years. And by the time I got my shit together and kind of got back to a good place, it became very clear that finishing this book was going to be the priority and the best way that I could be in service to the world at large. And so the one big change is that now I wasn't looking to get new clients, and I was able to write a book that is hopefully going to have a much bigger impact on a much larger audience.
Yeah. So just so we get this straight. So first of all, I want to give the audience a little bit of background here. The previous book that Derek had written was "Networking is Not Working," and he's the way we had kind of connected originally was, and he had mentioned just a moment ago that he had sold his financial his advising practice in 2019. But you still run, and you're co-founder of Cadre, and so that was what we had connected on in the last episode, which is essentially like you bring together entrepreneurs and speakers, and you guys do events. And so just and we'll talk about that in a second. But so just so we're clear here, you had started the book in 2017, 2019. That's funny, man. Like, are we like, I'm 47. Are we similar in age?
I'm 48.
Okay, dude, 47, dude. I had like a freaking throw me off the cliff moment too.
46 and a half is the median for midlife for most people, because midlife can be a big range. It can be something like 35 to 55 or what have you, but it seems like I remember seeing a statistic somewhere saying that like 40, if there's a happiness curve in life where you start off really happy and then you start going down and you start going down and then you go back up again. Well, the very bottom of that U curve is like 46 and a half.
That's so funny.
So when life gets the crappiest for most people.
But you and I share 41, 42 where shit went down, right?
No, for me it was like for me it was like in 20. It was good for me in 2019. It was not until probably 2022, and I would have been 40, like 45, 46 at that time.
Got it. So I'm special. I've had a double midlife crisis.
Oh wow.
Mine was like at 41, and then again it like at 46. So I doubled. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Now the difference though is like I gained a lot of tools out of the 41 and the 46 one. I like, it'd be like you walk into the jungle with nothing and you come out with like this full like gear of shit that you can use, and then you kind of put it away, and then 5 years later you pull it out, and when you go back in the jungle you're like prepared.
Yeah.
But you're still in the jungle, like there's still jaguars and shit trying to kill you, and like you're fighting them off. So that's interesting. So You said you had put the book down though for a couple of years. Why? What? I mean, obviously your dad got sick, and I dealt with a sick father when I was 22. I get that. Why a couple of years? Was it just like the book wasn't ready for you to finish it?
What was me sort of getting all my ducks in a row to sell the practice, and then immediately after that, COVID happened, and
Got it.
And so it was just more like, I think probably like most people, I was in more survive and advance mode than I was in creative mode, and then I got to unwind, a lot of what kind of led to a lot of like this midlife crisis happening, and I got to a really good place again where I said, okay, because I had a lot of different things I could do, like Cadre. We have this great community that, and we're serving these amazing CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. And my wife and I have been married for since 2008, 17 years. And we have people asking us like, you guys should host like a couples retreat. And I have a lot of people come to me for advice about being a dad, and just felt like there was a lot of different directions that I could go in. And I just waited, didn't jump until something became really obvious to me that it was the thing that I needed to lean into next. And for me, it was finishing the book.
Yeah, that's and like I said, I mean, my feelings are that like a book is a baby, dude. You're putting something out in the world that doesn't exist, and it's and then you have a relationship with that book because it's your thoughts and your ideas, and I think what most people don't realize about a book and is that you're earning people's attention one page at a time.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so if you're a listener, you're listening to this right now, like think to yourself, like how many times have you started a book? You're like, this book sucks. And then you just like throw it away. Right. Like, dude, that for me, by the way, that's probably like 1 out of 10 books,
yep.
9 out of 10 books, excuse me. I'll start and I'm like, fuck this book.
Totally, man.
And then there's the one where I'm like, I can't put it down, and I'm like, I'll pound through it in like 2.5, 3 days, 4 days. And then I'm like, oh, that book was awesome. And to your point, like the fact that you have, 175, 178 reviews, that speaks volumes, because it's hard to get someone to give you a review. I mean, dude, I think I have like 70 or 80 reviews on my book. And dude, I'm sitting there like asking good friends who I know read the book, who I know liked the book. Like I'm positive they like the book. They're not bullshitting me. And most people also don't know this. Amazon, if someone that has not written reviews before, will not post their reviews.
Yeah.
like so to get 178 reviews, like you probably had to get 240 reviews to get that 178. So that speaks volumes to like what you've written. And that's a huge congratulations to you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, a lot of strangers that will DM me on LinkedIn or Facebook or reply to my email, and so I would say maybe like 30 or 40 of them have just been like, hey, would you mind just copy pasting like exactly what you just sent me into a review on Amazon? And most of them have said, sure.
That's amazing, man. What, so let's talk about the book, because it's really funny. And so just so we're all clear, guys, I have not yet read the book, and I'm stoked to read it. We were talking before the show, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in this weird season where I've been gone and traveling and stuff, and it's been hard. Like, especially I read 52 books 2 years ago. I read a book a week, but it's been hard for me to read lately. So I'm excited to read your book. And you said there's an audible version of the book, the audio.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. Is it your voice? Or did you get
It's my voice, man. It's my voice.
Boom. That's the jam right there. So I'm excited. I'm gonna buy your Audible book right now while we're on the air. Let's do that. How about that? And you guys, if you're listening, so while I'm doing that, why don't you tell the audience where they can get the book? I normally do this at the end of the show, but I'm doing it in the beginning because I'm buying the book right now, and they should
wherever you buy books, you can get it. And what I'll do is just to kind of immediately jump into some hopefully life-changing, game-changing ideas for some people. I want to just talk about the general idea is that people are buying into this concept of retirement without giving it much thought. When you hire a financial advisor or you go to an online calculator, they're automatically opting you in. They're making you pick an age. They're making you highlight these different assumptions. And what happens for a lot of people is they end up sacrificing a lot of their health, a lot of happiness, a lot of their key relationships in the name of having a certain amount of money by a certain age. And when they get there, as we're seeing, about 1 in 5 people that are retiring are now unretiring. This movement called the unretirement movement. And it's not because they need money in most cases. It's because they miss the contribution. It's because they miss the connection. And I'm just seeing way too many people that are so hyper focused on saving enough money to retire one day that they're blowing off the people that are important to them. They're blowing off the things that are meaningful to them. And I think everybody knows that, they should be, working out more and sleeping better and seeing their kids more often and dating their spouse more and taking more trips and vacations. But not many people address the elephant in the room when they are making these suggestions. And the elephant in the room is like, how am I going to afford this? Like I'm being told I have to save an amount of money and I don't know where it's going to come from. I'm behind the 8 ball. I'm stressed out. And so I very quickly, and I want to do this now for everyone listening, is I want to alleviate that problem and I want to wave a magic wand and I want to show and tell everyone how much more time and money they actually have compared to what they might previously think. So I have this example in the book, this story, I call it a tale of two Tonys. Tony's a 45-year-old that makes $150,000 a year and he has $150,000 saved up for retirement. And he meets with his financial advisor. And by the way, if those numbers don't jive with you, you can add a zero, you can knock off 50 grand, like whatever works. It's going to essentially tell the same story. Tony tells his financial advisor he wants to retire at 65. And his financial advisor says, you need to save $2,400 a month, adjusted for inflation, every single month for the next 20 years in order to stop working. That's about 20% of what he's making. It's about 30 grand. He's making 150. And that's a non-starter for most people. Most people do not have the ability to save 20% of what they're making given their spending habits. I create an alternate reality that I compare to this old movie called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, where like her fate is determined by whether or not she catches a train, whether she slips into the train or not as this door is sliding. So I have this alternate reality where Tony's wife, in between meetings with the financial advisor, says, Tony, why do you want to stop working at 65? Like, you like what you do. You like the people that you do it with. I mean, even if you are not doing that, I can't imagine that you're going to be sitting around doing nothing at all. He's like, you know what? You're right. So he calls the financial advisor back up and he says, let's make it 75. I think I'm going to work until I'm 75. What do you think the amount that Tony needs to save goes down to, from $2,400 a month to what?
All right, look, like, I'm a numbers dude.
I know you're a numbers dude.
And I have a knack for this type of stuff. And I understand the eighth wonder in the world, the law of compounding interest. So I'm going to say $650 a month.
$110 a month.
Oh, shit.
It goes down by 96%. The $600 a month is actually the correct answer if he just wants to extend his working years by 5. So if he says, I'll go until I'm 70, it goes down by 75% to $600 a month. And look, I don't think that anybody that hates their job or hates the people that they're working with, I don't want those people to do this any longer than they have to, but maybe we can transition. Maybe we can find something else that, even if it's paying us less, that's not sucking our soul. And because we enjoy it, because we don't hate it, we'll do it for a little bit longer. And to your point, right? It's like the reason why the math is so dramatic is in the first scenario, I have him dying at 95 in both scenarios, by the way. Okay, but in the first example, he has 10 less years of earning an income, 10 less years of saving, 10 less years for that money to compound. And then he needs an amount of money that's going to last for 30 years. In the second scenario, he has 10 extra years of working, 10 extra years of not drawing down on the investments, 10 extra years of that money compounding, and then he only needs it to last for 20 years. So it's just that dramatic of a difference. And we've all heard about or read the articles that say we should have saved more when we were 22 to take advantage of compounding interest, and we feel dumb because we didn't do it. And even if we would have done it, I would like to think and hope that most of us are making more money now than we were when we were 22. But I don't see many articles or any articles that are saying we can get all of the benefits of compounding interest, all of the benefits that we would have gotten by saving more when we were 22, except by a multiple of 100, just by letting it sit in there for an extra 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's funny, like I'm assuming you've heard of and probably read the book Die with Zero by Bill Perkins.
Yep.
Right. So Bill's a former guest on the show. I like that book, and I actually kind of feel like what made that book so good and popular is he's basically like, dude, you should like, if the utility value of your money is to spend it while you're alive. And that the premise of the book essentially is if you die with money in the bank, you've wasted energy to create something that you've got no value from. Right. Yep. So what I love with that concept, and the reason I'm bringing it up is tying into your concept, is his concept, his belief is like, hey, you don't spend money you spend a lot less money as you get older, and there's certain times in your life when spending money has a higher utility value. And what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, you also like, who the hell like that, because the concept of of spending equal amounts of money throughout your life or is not necessarily a true concept. And what I just kind of picked up from what you said is, hey, the concept of like getting your golden watch and like retiring is not necessarily by the way, like that concept was really popular coming out of the 40, 50 years out of the Industrial Revolution, when a majority of people had hard labor jobs. Yeah. Right. So like, I'll use the example, like my grandparents both retired. My grandfather was born in 1929, and my grandmother was born a couple years after that. So they're both born before or during the Depression. Yep. He grew up in rural Italy, like literally like where they didn't have enough, like they didn't know where they're going to get food. And she grew up in rural Pennsylvania, where they, during the Great Depression. He worked his life where he had a soda pop distribution company where he was carrying literally like cases of soda, right, to the steel mills in Western Pennsylvania. And then he became a painter, where and before that he was a janitor because he like didn't have enough work. And so like his whole life was hard labor. Yep. Right. This is my grandfather. My grandmother ran a restaurant, and then she ended up working at Kwikset. I don't know if you guys know what Kwikset is. That's the company that makes keys. So if you ever see a key, like the 50% of the keys in America are made by Kwikset. They make all door locks too, which is probably less true now with all these automated door locks. And she ended up working in their manufacturing, like literally a line worker in the manufacturing facility at Kwikset in Southern California. So dude, both hard labor jobs, right? Like you bet your ass they both retired. Yeah.
What's funny is that they didn't want to. Like there's part of the reason why Social Security came about was there was an unemployment crisis at the time where you had a lot of younger workers or able workers who were younger that didn't have jobs available for them because it was all the older men that were working in the factories, and they didn't want to stop. And in fact, like they would have, I mean, it was a pride thing and it was too much of a work attachment thing. So I'm not promoting that either. But what happened on the assembly lines is that the managers would start to look and identify the guys who were getting older, and they would give them harder jobs to do to increase the likelihood that they would fail, so that they would have a justification to fire them. So men would start popping up with gray hair. They would go to Woolworth every day and buy shoe polish. They had to do this on a daily basis to cover up their gray hair so that they would continue to have the job that they have and wouldn't be assigned a harder task. So in part, it was created for, to incentivize some of the older workers to be able to transition out to create more jobs for the younger generations.
Yeah, that's interesting. Even with hard labor jobs, but that kind of proves the point. Like I hadn't even thought about that, because I was thinking about my grandmother, like had a great social network, and her job sucked, right? She's literally like making like locks, and like it wasn't a great job. But she had a great social network there, right? Where she had a bunch of people. My grandfather had his thumb blown off as a painter, and he was forced to retire young, actually. That's interesting, because you start to like the best, and I promise you, I'm not going to make this political right now because we're in such political times. But like the best like example I have in my head of this is Congress and Senate. Like you're like, you got a lot of old motherfuckers like who won't leave their role. I live in Austin, Texas. We have a guy last name Doggett who's like 78 years old, and he's been in Congress, I think, or Senate. I don't know if he's our senator or congressional leader here. 40 years. Yeah. The same dude. And I'm like, get the fuck out. Because so you see that when they're not forced to retire, right? When actually their age and their name actually like helps them stay in position. Dude, these are people in their 70s like Pelosi, you know, I'll go down the list, man. All these people won't leave office because they like power. They love what they do. There's a ton of prestige. Like they have all the positives, and there's a network, and they feel engaged. My favorite example of this, by the way, and I was talking about this because I'm an example of some. The reason I'm so interested in what your book is, I'm like, dude, I'm never retiring. I love doing shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and my wife knows it. She's like, he's never retiring. And so the example I gave, someone asked me this the other day, like who's your role model for like if you doubled in age? Do you know who Don DePani is? Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. So Don DePani, I'm friends with him, right? And we were at dinner.
Great guy.
Dude, amazing guy. He's coming back. I haven't talked. He hasn't been on the show for a couple of years, but he's been on the show twice, and so he's coming back on the show in a couple of weeks. And he did an event at EO, and he does this whole practice of like double your age, like you're like what age do you think you're going to be when you pass on, right? And he's like, who is a person that like your role model for someone of that age? So for me, I'm like, all right, like 97 years old or 95 years old. I doubled my age. I'm like, look, if I lived to 95, that would be awesome. And he's like, well, who's your role model for someone that like really embodies like?
Are you going to say Warren Buffett?
I'm going to go one better. I'm going to say I Charlie Mungered this.
All right, got it. Cool.
So I'm like, dude, I'm a Charlie Munger guy. Like I got the poor Charlie's Almanac to my left over here. But I said, I love watching those dudes engage in their business. Like that's like, if it all happens the way I want it to happen, I'm going to be sitting on some stage schooling youngsters with Darius wisdom at 95 and like making them laugh because I'm say ridiculous shit and get away with it because I'm 95 years old. Those are guys, I swear to God, I think that they just live forever because they're so engaged in what they do. And there's tons of data on this, that if you're engaged, you live longer. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Charlie Munger's got some great interviews where he's just talking about like some of his friends that just play golf all day long. And he's like, I would want to kill myself if that was my life. And I think maybe there could be like a little bit more balance there. But look, it was just revealed that 95% of Warren Buffett's net worth came after the age of 65. Right. And this is less about him being just a remarkable investor and more just about, you know, the power of compounding interest and just continuing to work and not touching your money and letting it grow. And then his successor, you know, Greg Abel is 62 years old. So he's coming in to take over Berkshire Hathaway at the ripe old age of 62, where, and I think just to kind of like put a bow on all of this, right? It's like, there's less blue collar jobs, there's more white collar jobs, and we're going to be paid more and rewarded more for our wisdom. And so like forget about the money for a second, where clearly you're going to be better off financially and mentally, and your health will be much better if you work longer too. But let's just talk about like the selfishness a little bit of leaving all of this wisdom on the table. Like you've got all this experience, you've got like all this knowledge, all these skills, all these ways that you could contribute. And just to say, I'm going to take my ball and go home and sit on my front porch and drink lemonade for the next 30 years doesn't really seem like a great way to live. And it's not good for you either. I mentioned the health, and I have a chapter in my book called meaning versus happiness. And there was a study done by a woman named Barbara Fredrickson out of Chapel Hill, and she created two different groups of people. The first group were individuals who were prioritizing personal happiness. For them, it was they're waking up every day solving for how am I going to be happier. And the second group was prioritizing for purpose. They had a bigger reason for getting out of bed in the morning than just making themselves happy. They hooked them up to brain and heart monitors. And the first group had the response in their body at a cellular level was the same response that your bodies have when it's dealing with a chronic adversity. So the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, their inflammation went up, their immunity went down. They were more likely to get sick. They were more likely to die. The second group, it was just the opposite. Their inflammation decreased. Their immunity went up. And so the moral of the story is, I guess, if you want to be happy, don't directly pursue happiness, but also there is, I think, biologically, there's this part of us where if we just start feeling like there's a big reason, some purpose for us to be here, our bodies just kind of say, you know, I'm not going to like support this. If you're not trying to make this place better, then we're not going to go out of our way to make sure you get to stick around longer.
Interesting. I'm curious. I'm wondering if there's an element there, and love to hear your thoughts on this, of like serving others, right? Like the second, because I think in order to like be outside of yourself, and there's a lot of data that I know of around like depression dropping when we serve others, right? That because if you're self-focused, right? If I'm solving for happiness, I'm solving for my self-focus, right?
Yep.
If I'm solving for purpose and I do it with a lens from and I'm sure there's people that maybe overlay purpose with like self-purpose, right? Or like a need for self, and maybe that's more around happiness anyway. But if I'm solving for purpose and I go outside of myself, then I'm not thinking about myself, right? Like I'm like, hey, how can I help this other person, right? Like ego kind of goes sits on the sideline, isn't sitting there like I'll use an example. I was in summer. I went to Tanzania this summer, right? And my wife and kids and I, and have you ever been to Tanzania before?
Nope.
All right, dude. It's the 26th poorest country on earth,
which
and I'd been to India. I went to India about 27 years ago when I was 20, and I think I underestimated like how I would feel differently about being in a third world country at 47. So I go there, and the reason I did it was my wife and kids and I were traveling, and we were in Europe for 5 weeks before this, and I was like, dude, I'm not doing another European country for week 6. Like that's not happening. Like the kids, I'm taking my kids out of their comfort zone. The classic part of this is I was the most uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I was like, I underestimated my dude, I was like freaking out about getting malaria. Like it was like, the first couple of days there were gnarly and I was very uncomfortable. And so I was super self-focused. I was anxious. I was sitting there, which just happens when we're self-focused. We start to like ruminate on little bullshit. We get super self-focused. And then I got comfortable. Finally, I was like, all right, dude, like I'm in rural Africa. Like I'm here to help people. And dude, the next 7 days, I'm tearing out old chicken coops, building new ones by hand, building, hand cleaning stations, sitting with pregnant women who literally, I'm like, don't even have like anything, like barely a mud clay building that they and their family live in, and building earth boxes with my kids. Like, dude, it was like, I was completely outside of myself. Right. And I was like, wow, first of all, you get the pleasure of helping other people. But I was, all the shit I was worried about when I first got there, I wasn't thinking about. I was like, I got comfort, And so I think that there's an element that when we get outside of ourselves, that, the body relaxes, and it's in this like kind of like, I have a good friend, Mike Cato. I don't know if you know him or not, but Cato says it's when you have sunshine, shining on the brain, right? Like, what's going to be that sunshine shining on the brain? So I think that's where a lot of purpose comes in. And to your point, like if I can find purpose in my work, then, why do I need to retire to like sit around and go, I get bored if I'm traveling for more than a couple of weeks. I don't golf. I think that you should have hobbies because for other reasons, but yeah, like I think that, that's an important, there's an important opportunity there that maybe we've been sold a bag of goods of, no, at 65, it's retire and go to Italy and, play bocce ball all day, which I'm like, oh, that sounds miserable as far as I'm concerned.
When I first wrote the book, the first pass, I was talking a lot about find a job you love. And then I walked it back in a lot of instances where I changed the language to find a job you don't hate. Find a career where it's not like completely soul sucking, because I do feel like I agree with everything that you're saying, but I also feel like this idea that everyone needs to find work that is their purpose to fulfill them can be harmful in some cases. And I don't think that's the case for everyone. And I think that there are a lot of people out there where maybe their purpose is they're the ones that love just to plan the annual trip for all of the friends. When like they get together, they do a thing, or they plan the neighborhood parties, or they organize like the, fill in the blank. That's aside from their work, but them doing some type of work that gives them the money and the flexibility that frees them up to spend their time and their energy on this other thing, I think can be also pretty valuable. Like there's my brother-in-law has a friend who's a really big Fish fan, and he's got a job as a software engineer, and he doesn't love it, but he likes it and he's good at it, and he likes the people that he works with, and they give him 30 days off a year that he can travel around and go see fish as much as he wants. And so for him, that's his world. That's his community. He wants to be around those people. His purpose is through seeing live music and having all these experiences with all these people. He doesn't need necessarily, or at least up until now, the job that makes him feel that way. He just needs something that's going to unlock the ability to spend his time doing what he loves to do.
I love that. So what I heard you just say essentially is, hey, look, this is just a mathematical equation. And so if I can extend the runway and of when I start to burn through my quote unquote retirement and do it in a way where I'm not unhappy doing it, right? Like I don't need to get purpose from my job, which is a really hard thing to get, right? I just need to like my job enough where I enjoy going there every day and feel satisfied with the work I'm going to do.
Yep.
But at the end of the that's a much lower hurdle, right? As we say in investing, there's high hurdles, it's a lower hurdle, right? So I'm gonna go for that lower hurdle. I'm gonna do something I'm already gonna do anyway. I want to extend the runway, call it 5-10 years. You can pick your number. And because of the law of eighth one of the world, the law of compounding interest, I'm just essentially making it where my life is a lot easier and I have to save a lot less. And I'm not saving these crazy numbers in my 20s and 30s, which are unrealistic anyway. So that's essentially what I heard you say.
Yeah, it just supports a lifestyle. It supports your ability. Like, I don't know about you, but like part of my financial plan, part of what I want to be able to do is I want to have enough money set aside so that we can do one big, amazing family trip every single year. So my kids, maybe I've got 2 boys, they're 15 and 13. Maybe they get married, maybe they have kids, maybe we're living in different parts of the country at times. And I want to be able to put together a trip that's so amazing and so irresistible that whatever they have going on, they're going to say yes. And we're going to get to spend a week together hanging out. And that might be like $100,000 a year. And so, I went to, certain restaurants when I was younger and my palate evolved and now I'm going to other restaurants. Right. And if I enjoy eating at Michelin restaurants right now, as I do, then I'm not interested in retiring with not enough money to keep doing that. I would rather be able to keep earning some income to afford a lifestyle that I enjoy and appreciate, that allows me to really have as much fun and get as much out of life as I possibly can. I've got clients, that are in their 70s now, and they all like, most of them have like plenty of money. Like they're not gonna be able to like spend enough to where they're gonna run out. But what's really interesting is the clients that are still working and earning an income, and in a lot of cases, like they're making $100,000, like they've got $15 million, right, say in investments, and they're making $100,000. And then I've got clients that have the same amount of money in their investment portfolio and they aren't making anything at all. It's amazing to see how much easier it is for the one that's still bringing in income to spend down their money. Like, even though they're just bringing in a little bit, knowing that they haven't completely shut that gear off, right? That they still are making money. It's a powerful thing. The ones that are not earning, it's like, you guys can spend money. Come on, let's do it. And they just knowing that they're just taking it out and nothing's coming back in psychologically is affecting their ability to enjoy what they've saved up.
No, that makes so much sense. The other thing I think people don't think about, which, look, we're entrepreneurs. You had an exit, I've had an exit in my life. And so it's a different formula for entrepreneurs, I think, to a certain degree. Like, not everything you're saying, but like, the way we make money is different, right? For a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yep.
If you're fortunate enough to build some businesses that are worth something. But one thing I learned was, I was like, dude, and this is a Warren Buffett lesson, is in order for me to save that dollar, I have to earn like between depending on where I live, $1.50 and $2.
Yep.
Right. So that dollar you put into your, like that person that had 15 million, like they didn't put 15 million bucks away. They probably put a couple million away that over time compounded out to 15. Right. And so for them to go and so when they pull a dollar out, whenever I pull a dollar out of principal, my brain's like, no, you just pulled $2 out because you had to go make, if I want to replace that dollar, I got to go make 2 or make $1.50.
Yep.
And I think that's where, when I see this, and this is like a word of caution for entrepreneurs, if you ever have an exit, don't think that you're a good investor because you're a good entrepreneur. Just so we're clear, Like half of entrepreneurs lose all their money because they think that those two things are the same. And the reason for it's because, dude, in order for you to go put that money back, you got to go earn double to put it back.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of times people don't realize to pull that money out of principal, like the thought of that in my brain is painful. Yeah. Right. Because I'm like, dude, you know how much effort I have to put to recreate that dollar? So I think what when you were saying all that, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Even if I'm only making $100,000 a year, which for some people maybe that's a lot of money. But you know, like I always say, like we're grown-ups now, like $100,000, like if you live in a major metropolitan area, is like you're not living large, you know. That's, you know, about $8,000 a month, right? Pre-tax.
Yep.
Post-tax, you're probably at like 6, right? With today's tax code. So they're throwing $6,000 in there, right? Every month. If their burn is 10, 8, 10, whatever, now they're only burning 3 or 4, right? So that totally makes sense to me, where I'm like, as opposed to double that burn, to your point, if let's say they're pulling 3,000 out of their personal savings, right? Because their lifestyle demands $9,000 a month. 6 of it comes in from their job. Okay, that's $9,000 a month spend. Let's go a different direction. Of no, I don't have that $800,000 a year coming in. It's actually 0. I tripled my burn from 3 to 9. That dude, it makes total sense of literally 300% higher burn. Like I get it. Like you can totally, and this is not even using the law of compounding interest to say what's the opportunity cost of that 6,000. That it's now I'm not going to earn anything, right? Yep. So it like I never thought about it like that. Like probably because I've always been like I'm never going to retire. But I'm probably, I don't know if, I mean, how many people do you meet that say that to you?
Look, there have been very few people that have ever come into my office with their hand raised, knowing that they don't want to retire. They think they thought they were getting a standard fare meeting with a financial advisor, and I would humor them all. Like I would ask them, okay, so you want to retire at 65? What do you want to do? And a couple would look at each other, and guy would say, like, I want to travel the world with my spouse. And I would say, great. When was the last time you two went out on a date? And they would look at each other, and it was never a good answer. Or I want to spend a lot of time with my grandkids. I was like, that's amazing. I do too. How often are you home for dinner right now? Or my favorite, I want to play golf 5 days a week, but you're not playing golf now and you haven't been to the gym in 4 years and you just had your hip replaced. So when is this going to happen? And I think where I love Die with Zero, I didn't read Die with Zero until after my book was out, because I had a lot of people telling me your book sounds like it's going to be like Die with Zero. And I was like nervous that I was going to write the same thing. It ended up being a great book that's very complimentary. And I think that like one of the differences is that he makes a good point that a lot of people need to hear, which is you're better off doing something when you're like a round of golf when you're 45 is probably going to be more enjoyable than a round of golf when you're 65. But what I want to offer up though is that like the more golf you're playing when you're 45, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to keep playing golf when you're 65. The more trips you take, the more engaged you are, the more you're exercising when you're younger, the more likely it is you're going to be able to like keep it up. So I don't necessarily agree that like all of a sudden our ability to do these things is going to fall off a cliff when we turn 60 or 70 years old. I just think that the more we do them now, the more likely it is that we'll continue to do it. For me, my North Star is I want to make choices that are going to increase the likelihood that my kids are going to want to spend more time with me when they're adults. And the more time I spend with my kids, the more likely it is they're going to want to spend time with me when they're older. And that's what I'm solving for right now, because I think that society has told us that we should be working our hardest and earning the most of the majority of our money during the years when our kids need us and want us the most. And for me, like that's what I'm solving for. Like, so if we take my macro idea that we shouldn't put off things till later, that we should do them now. And that's funded by the idea that we'll be bringing in money longer than what we were previously thinking. Then at a micro level, this is how I'm showing up as a parent right now. For me, I'm saying no to a decent amount of speaking gigs. I don't have a coaching practice. I've got the dial turned down a little bit right now because my boys are 15 and 13. I have 3 and 5 years left respectively with each of them before they leave forever. Tim Urban had this crazy stat that he shared 10 years ago, which is by the time your kids leave and go off to college, you've already spent 93% of the time that you're going to spend with them, which should take every parent's breath away if they hadn't heard that before. But for me, I'm spending a couple hours a day, every single day right now with my kids, largely because it's being sponsored by the knowing that when 5 years from now, when they're gone, turn me back up to 50, 60 hours a week and all of the money that comes with it. So I don't mind spending down some principal now, even to your point, knowing that I need to replace it at a 3-to-1 ratio because I feel like I will be able to do that. For now, though, I want to spend as much time with my kids as possible because I'm going to just miss them terribly once they're out of the house.
Yeah, I love that, man. I have a really good friend here in Austin, Chris Taylor, who sold his software company in 2020. Nice exit. And dude, he's like double everything you just said. He's a die with zero guy and a let's retire retirement guy. He's like, I'm not doing anything. He's like, he has 2 daughters, 16 and 14, I think. He's like, dude, they're going to be gone. And to your point, 93, like if you haven't heard that stat, I knew that stat. I'm like, and I'm a guy that's been a chronic workaholic who's had to fight my urges to like not work, right? Which has been, that's a whole different conversation. Like even the business that I was just in, I was working 80 hours a week. And like with my kids, you and I have, by the way, parallel, like you're older than me. And literally we're 1 year apart on multiple things. I got married in 07. I have a 15 and a 12-year-old. I have 2 boys, right? So I'm like Derek, like you like my like East Coast brother from another mother.
There we go.
But Chris is like, I'm not. Everyone keeps asking him, when are you building the next thing? When are you building the next thing? He's like, I'm not building the next thing until my kids are out of the house.
Yeah.
And he's early 50s. He's like 51, 52 years old. He's like, I'm not building that. He has a cool thing. He's building an entrepreneurial community called Red Fridge Society in Austin. And it's kind of like a co-working kind of membership thing. And it's, it's a passion project and it's fun. And he's starting to make some money from it, but, not like compared to selling his software company. And his answer is because he's like, dude, I can't go get this time back with my kids. Yep. And so even myself having just, kind of like taking a pause from a project and looking into what's next, I'm like, hey, let's try something new here. I got a 15 and a 12-year-old, like, let's go travel with them. Let's go hang out with them. Because to your point, like, dude, whenever I see that chart, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Right? That I'm like, sad. Oh shit. Yeah. It's really sad. Right. Like again, and then I think of myself, I'm like, how often do I see my mom? My mom lives in LA.
Yep.
I live in Austin. How often do I talk to my mom? Once a week, maybe, if I'm really being good.
Yep.
And so it's like, that's just reality at the end of the day.
You can calculate how many more conversations you're going to have with her. Probably you can calculate, if you see her twice a year and I don't know how old she is, but you can figure it out on the back end and know, okay, this is how many more times I have left with, seeing one of my parents.
Yeah. And when you start doing stuff like that, like it's morose, but it's true. And then that might change your behavior, right? You might be like, oh, well, maybe I need to call my mom more. Maybe I need to plan more family vacations. I love what you said. And I have a good friend, Ash Kumar, who he's like, dude, do you know how to spell, how kids spell the word time? It's LOVE. How much love do you give them?
Yeah.
Right. Like, don't be critical of your kids, love them. And what he does is, dude, he plans epic trips with his family. He pays for everything and they just want to show up. I have another friend that I just met and she was like, I got 2 kids in their 20s. Like, they hang out a lot because we have good wine and we go to sushi all the time.
Yeah.
Like they can't afford that shit, So I do think creating building the means so you can create incentives. I have another good friend who, and when you're talking about things you want to do into your 70s, dude, him and his dad have been snowboarding since he was a kid together. His dad's in his 70s now. He's in his 40s. Yeah. They still snowboard together. So I love this idea of like to your point, there's this fallacy that when I'm retired, then I'm going to do X, but I don't do that shit now. And I'm like, dude, you're not going to do any of that shit.
Right.
There's no way. You've not built the muscles for it, right? There's no what I mean?
It feels maybe appropriate too to also mention that we do epic stuff with our kids as well. You just went on an epic trip with your kids, but also like I think it was Jerry Seinfeld said, and I heard this through the Daily Dad blog from Ryan Holiday, which is a fantastic.
I love that blog.
Daily blog for parents, where Jerry Seinfeld's like, all time is quality time. Junk time is quality time. My oldest is 15 and we have a gym in the house and we work out 3 days a week together. And for for 45 minutes of the hour that we're in that gym together, he's not talking to me. Like he's on his phone or he's playing music or he's texting someone or he's just sitting there, but I'm in the game and I'm getting at bats and we're sharing music. And 10 of those minutes or 15 of those minutes, he is talking with me. And, same thing with like just riding around in a car with my youngest to his travel soccer practices back and forth. When my kids were 10 and 7, we had this nighttime routine. My wife and I would alternate laying in bed with each of our boys, read them a story, snuggle with them until they would fall asleep. And I found myself on a lot of nights wishing that it would hurry up and pass. I'm thinking like, oh, will you hurry up and fall asleep so I can go and watch this show with my wife or, respond to this email. And I'm thinking like, he's not going to want to do this much longer. Here I am wishing it away. And I tried to lean in to be more grateful. And I had this crazy thought one day, which was like, if there was a company in the future that invented a time machine and 25 years from now, they offered me the opportunity to go back in time to have one more night with the 10-year-old version of my kid, to snuggle with him and lay in bed with him while he fell asleep, what would I pay for that? And I said $50,000. Without even thinking twice, I would stroke that check. And so, I posed a question in my book, like what $50,000 moments are happening all around you that you're taking for granted right now? Because like the reality is, even the mundane moments, we're going to wish we could do them again and again and again once we're not able to do them anymore. And a big part of my book, man, it's like I feel like I'm in the regret minimization business. I am trying to get people's attention and help them realize that they're buying into this money game. They're playing a game that's ultimately going to lead to them having a lot of regrets. And I want them 25 years from now to wake up and feel like they made better choices and if they wouldn't have, maybe thought about these things differently.
I love that, man. I love that, and you're making a good point. Like the epic stuff is like, you can't do that. It's not sustainable to do that all the time anyway.
And it's great. I'm just also throwing it out there that we can also have great moments with our kids without all the pomp and circumstance.
Well, I actually think it's the most important point of this part of the conversation, because I think the minute we start creating these constraints around how we're going to spend time with people, then we won't do it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, I got to take my wife on an epic date night. I'm like, no, dude, you need to go grab a cup of coffee with her for 5 minutes and just like see how she's doing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to like go to a Michelin-star restaurant. Sure, that's nice if you can do that too at some point. Like, I don't need to like plan like an epic like Grand Canyon hike trip with my son, although I want to. I need to like sit there and watch Happy Gilmore with him for an hour last night.
Yeah.
Which is what we did do. And, and like, it was fun and it was cool. And my other son, I need to like sit there and like have him show me his favorite songs on Spotify,
Yeah.
Like those little moments, to your point, like you even just motivated me, because I'm like, I want my kids to work out, and I'm like, I should be working out with them. And so it's like something that's little, and we have a gym. There's no reason for it to not happen. And I've done it here and there, but not consistently. So it's all these little like passing moments that are easy. And I have a saying in business, which is, if you want people to do stuff, make it easy, So if you don't, then good luck to you. But man, I know we're running out of time here. We've already kind of plugged the book, but let's plug it again. Where can people find the book? Obviously, first of all, man, congrats, dude. I'm pumped to read the book. I bought it on Amazon, on Audible, you guys. It's on sale on Audible right now for just under $8. But just so we're clear here, like I have a ton of credits. I just paid for it because I'm like, oh, $8, why not? Right? Like that's probably best $8 I'm going to spend this month. So people can go there and get it. But where can people, like, just remind them where they can follow you, learn more about you, Derek, get the book, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So best place is my website, derekcoburn.com, and it has links for where you can buy the book, and you can sign up to get like a companion workbook that I put together for it. And I continue to write. My thoughts continue to evolve. I think I had like a couple week period where after I turned in the final manuscript, I was thinking, oh, I should have added this or I should have added that. And it was frustrating, but it's like, no, this is, those were my best ideas at the time, but now I have other ideas, and I'm in this nice spot. Like, it feels like a blessing and a curse at times where I don't really need anything. I'm not selling anything, but I do really feel like this is the best way that I can make the world a better place right now. So I would just love for people to, sign up for my email and read the book. And yeah, I also hang out some on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But I'm just looking to use the fact that I've been blessed in certain ways to share what I've learned and share things that will hopefully allow people to get more out of their life than what they currently are feeling right now.
I love it, man. So you guys, the book is Let's Retire Retirement, How to Enjoy Life to the Fullest Now and Later, USA Today bestseller. My man, I appreciate you for coming on the show. I'm excited for the work you're doing and will continue to do. And thank you very, very much, Derek.
Thanks, D. Love chatting with you, man.
Likewise. You guys go out, support the book, get it. Don't retire. Go hug your kids before they're out of the house. Spend some time with them. Until next time, everybody, peace out. We love you. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.